It was 1955, and every afternoon my sister and I went across the alley to watch the Mickey Mouse Club over at the Sarassis. Our eyes were on one little girl. She was the star. But Edie Magnus says at 51, Annette Funicello is in a very different kind of spotlight now. Edie?
Connie, I was just the opposite. I never really understood what all the fuss about Annette was, until I met her in person and spoke with her friends. Who would believe that a good girl from a strict family could make it in Hollywood and still hang on to her reputation? Walt Disney did. Before Madonna, before Cher,
Well, on with the show.
the girl who got America all hot and bothered was
Annette.
Who's the little lady who's as dainty as a dream?
she could steam up the glass on millions of TV sets just by standing there. Cute and corny, the darling of the Disney studios.
Annette, Annette, Annette.
Your life has a very fairy tale quality to it.
No, it was real. It was very real for me. These were my wishes. They came true. Everything that has happened in my life happened for a reason. Even the adversity has happened for a reason.
Adversity, like one of those dark Disney villains, came in the form of multiple sclerosis, a crippling disease of the central nervous system. Annette's been grappling with it now for 7 years.
See, Annette gets sick. Annette gets in trouble. Annette needs your help, your reinforcement. But it took me a long time to be able to admit that.
Trapped by her body, she's finding joy in sharing memories of happier days. In her new autobiography, Annette's story begins once upon a time in 1955, when a 12-year-old ballerina danced the lead in Swan Lake at her school's year-end recital.
Mr. Disney, unannounced, was in the audience because he was looking for Mouseketeer material.
And so began the fabled partnership between a powerful Hollywood visionary and a captivating dark-haired girl from Utica, New York. Mouseketeer Annette Funicello received more than 6,000 fan letters a week.
The boys would send you rings in the mail?
Uh-huh. Would you please marry me, and I love you.
And join our family.
But it wasn't the rodent-eared cap that fueled boys' fantasies. It was the shirt.
Most people don't even know that we have this T-shirt.
Robert Tiemann keeps the costume and other priceless artifacts in climate-controlled Disney archives. A costume so revered it was the object of desire in the 1986 coming-of-age movie, Stand By Me.
Yeah, I think he's right. I've been noticing lately that the A and the E are starting to bend around the side.
There's a misconception that I outgrew my Annette T-shirt. In fact, I was a late bloomer.
Ah, but when she did. Annette grew to become a prized Disney property.
And at the end of the Mouseketeers, they let 23 kids go, and they kept you.
I hope you're not going to ask why. I don't know.
Walt Disney knew this good girl was good for business. He signed her to a recording contract. Within weeks, Annette had her first top 10 hit. And appearances on the influential Dick Clark broadcast, American Bandstand.
Oh, the train of love keeps stumbling on down the track.
In the summer of '59, Clark invited Annette, now sweet 16, to tour the country in his caravan of stars. But he'd ordered his musicians not to mess around with Mr. Disney's creation.
Don't swear in front of Annette. Don't drink in front of Annette. Don't smoke in front of Annette.
And why did you feel the need to be protective of her when she was on the road?
It was an immediate introduction to a very, very young, sophisticated world, and I probably was afraid of what it would do to her.
But all the rules in the world couldn't stop a romance on the road. Annette and teen idol Paul Anka fell in love.
he had a great part of my heart.
It was her first serious relationship, and as always, Walt was watching.
Were you very aware of the influence of Walt Disney in her life?
She was Disney. She was this little satellite of Disney. You go on the road and they reported back to the Disney office. Annette, let's go somewhere next week. I got to check with Disney.
To make matters worse, Anka's own handlers were telling him to stop mooning and keep crooning. The adults were conspiring against them. You're too young to be serious, they said, and they called it
Puppy love.
Anka wrote this world-famous song in frustration.
We're 17. And you have to realize you're 16, 17. You have emotions that really aren't allowed to come out.
Anything you say, Frankie.
Walt Disney would allow the safe romance of the silver screen. He loaned Annette to star with Frankie Avalon in a series of beach movies. But even then, he had one request.
Would you mind not exposing your navel? You know, wearing a bikini.
She had a one-piece bathing suit on. And, so why are you wearing that? You know, you got a good figure, you know. You look terrific. Why? She says, oh, no, Mr. Disney doesn't want me to wear that. And there was nothing else to be said on my part.
I mean, you have certainly a reputation as a...
Say it. Goody two-shoes.
You were a goody two-shoes.
Of course. I did naughty things. There was a time when I wanted to see an X-rated movie, okay? I bought a blonde wig, and I got into the movie. And I remember thinking, is this what everyone has been talking? It was boring.
How old were you when you did this?
But I got in my 30s.
You were in your 30s?
Yes.
Now, what would have been the harm if someone had seen Annette Funicello go into an X-rated movie?
Because Annette doesn't do things like that.
She left the spotlight as quickly as she'd entered it for marriage, children, carpools, and occasional peanut butter commercials. She divorced her first husband and married again. Life was ordinary and good. Her beach buddy, Frankie, finally coaxed Annette back into pictures. They went back to the beach in 1987, taking an irreverent look at their past.
Are we the corniest couple you've ever seen, or what?
But this time, the present kept intruding. There were little signs at first. Blurry vision, suddenly so bad she could barely read her script. A tingling sensation in her feet. And during the filming of the beach scenes, Annette couldn't keep her balance, just walking along the sand. It would lead her to a series of doctors and the diagnosis that would change her life.
When I was diagnosed with MS, I thought, I wish he could be here.
Walt Disney had died of lung cancer 21 years earlier.
I know I could say, Mr. Disney, what should I do? How should I handle this?
Frightened and unwilling to face being sick, Annette told almost no one, including her own father. She still appeared in public.
Several people called to see if she had a drinking problem.
Her close friend, former Mouseketeer Sharon Baird.
He said, I know you're good friends, you can tell me. I said, no, I know she doesn't.
Why did you decide to hide it?
Well, because nothing bad ever happens to Annette.
I think she was just waiting to someday just wake up in the morning and to be gone.
Annette joined Avalon on stage for 30 reunion concerts. She didn't learn until afterward. He'd known the truth all along.
Well, I would make sure that I'd hold on to her throughout the performance. And many times, I mean, I'm amazed when I think back how strong she was and determined she was to be able to stand on her two legs that really weren't supporting her. But she was determined.
And she remains determined to lead as normal a life as possible.
I am what the doctors called chronic progressive. I have had no remissions.
You write about dreaming of walking. Do you still dream about walking?
All the time. In every dream where I'm seated when the conversation has ended, I get up and walk.
Do you remember the big rumor that was out that I died? I choked on a piece of bubble gum.
And believe it or not, Annette still snacks on Skippy, sharing forkfuls this day with Sharon and another former Mouseketeer. Look familiar? Tommy Cole. Now an award-winning makeup artist, Tommy prepared Annette for our interview.
I'm going to leave you now.
That's what they all say. See ya.
Bye.
See you real soon. Why? Because we like you.
Edie, when you look at everything she's been through, Annette is just amazingly resilient.
And it is tough, Connie, when you remember that she has trouble seeing, she can no longer write her own name, and as we saw, walking is becoming more and more difficult. But her autobiography comes out this week. This is a woman who does not give up.
All right. Thank you, Edie.